Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. I'm Joseph Johnson. We have Matt, Chris, Ryan, Abby, Billy, Tyler, Kyle's out there, Patricia's in the back. We're your community organizers. We are here to, make 1 Million Cups happen and try to bring you the best programming we can. If everyone that has the 1 Million Cups app would log in and check in, and everyone who doesn't, if you'd like to go to your friendly neighborhood app store and download the 1 Million Cups app, and you can leave feedback for the presenters and also check out the presenters for this week and also the weeks to come. We'd like to give a special welcome to Excelsior Springs High School, who's here. Always great to have young entrepreneurial spirits in the room. And then we're going to hear a little bit of an introduction from our expert panelists. Do you have a mic?
Good morning, everyone. Okay, right here. I am Nilima Paraskar, President and CEO of Snap IT Solutions. We are a technology solutions company. We provide IT trainings to bring in younger youth into IT skills. We have them work on smaller scale projects and then engage with major corporations to get through that. So we create software solutions, trainings, and services for major corporations. That's what we do.
I'm doing the dual role today, and I'll be the other expert panelist. My name is Matt Danzler, and I own a company called TSC Sales Coaching and Consulting, and we help small businesses and large businesses become more successful in the sales operations and delivery area.
All right. So without any further ado, we'll bring up Patrick McLaughlin with Diggs.
Hey, my name is Pat McLaughlin. I'm co-founder and CEO at Diggs. And I bought my first house when I was 25 years old. Now, let's see if this is working. Hold on 1 second. All right, there's me and my lovely wife. All right, so I bought my first house when I was 25 years old. Now, if you just go back one generation, this is not a crazy accomplishment, but in this day and age, that actually makes me an outlier. So, I didn't know much about home buying before this. So I bought this book, Home Buying for Dummies. And I read it cover to cover. I took what I learned in that book and ultimately bought my first house, a 2-flat in Chicago, living in one unit, renting out the other. Now, after I became a homeowner, I began to realize how little my friends actually knew about the home buying process. I by no means consider myself an expert, but comparatively, I knew a ton. For instance, a lot of my friends, including my co-founder Chad here, wanted to buy, but thought you had to put 20% down. And with this outlook on things, saving for a down payment seemed practically impossible. So their perception and lack of knowledge about the home buying process was directly dictating their savings habits. And we got talking about this more and more, and the deeper we dove, the more we uncovered. For instance, we found that 80% of renting millennials want to buy a home in the near future. Yet 68%, Chad, you want to just come up here? Yet 68% of that same group, I can just go here. Sorry. Yeah, so 80% want to buy a home in the near future. But of that same group, 68% have less than $1,000 saved for down payment. And we get it, it's hard to save. Plus, a home's the biggest purchase you'll likely ever make, so it can be intimidating to even get started. So why isn't there a tool to help you prepare for this? Well, that's where we come in. Diggs is an educational savings app for first-time homebuyers. We have a unique contribution matching program that rewards people for proactively saving. And while they're saving, they learn what it takes to actually buy a home. So to best understand how this works is...
That's our table, not your presentation. Just
okay. All right, so the best way to understand how this works is to walk through a real life scenario. So, so meet Nick and Molly. Nick and Molly are recently engaged, and after adding up all their costs for the upcoming wedding, they realize that they won't have much left over for a home. So they find Diggs and create a joint account, each setting aside money every single time they get paid, which we contribute on top of. Now over time, their account grows, and they reach new milestones that teach them about the home buying process. For instance, they learn about home appraisals, title insurance, and a lot of other things that most first-time home buyers out there don't really know about. So, if you fast forward 3 years, Nick and Molly have collectively saved over $23,000. And they've earned over $1,000 in Diggs contributions along the way. And to put things in perspective, if they would have saved in a traditional savings account, they would have accrued about $25 in interest. Now it's time to get pre-approved, which they can do directly in the app. In the past, getting pre-approved was a process of sending paperwork back and forth to different banks, but since we already have some of their information saved, it cuts down a lot of time. And after they're pre-approved with us, we let them compare multiple lenders and ultimately recommend the best option for them. So after all this, Nick and Molly are able to secure a loan, become happy homeowners, all thanks to Diggs. But Nick and Molly are not alone. They are just one of 2 million other people that bought their first home in 2017. Last year alone, first-time homebuyers spent a total of $440 billion. And since they typically have less saved, they end up financing most of their home. So now that you know what we do, I want to take a step back and talk about where we're at. Before this started, I guess I should preface, we are part of Fountain City FinTech, which is a FinTech accelerator here in Kansas City. Before this started, we had a vision, which we had backed up with a lot of market research in Chicago and some consumer testing, but without a banking partner, our core product just simply did not exist. But a lot's changed in the last 75 days, and I want to walk through them one by one. Number one being the banking integration. So having a banking partner is an integral part of our business because it allows our users to deposit their own FDIC-insured funds. And this relationship is so much more than just choosing a bank to work with. Bank integrations can sometimes take up to 6 months to implement, but we were able to do it in just 2. Number 2 is building the product. So I told you guys before we had a vision, and now we have a fully functioning app. We currently have beta users in the product and are set to officially launch right after the holidays. Also, I want to add that we built this product exclusively using local Kansas City developers. Number 3 is the lender partnerships. So, since everyone who saves in their app is eventually going to need to get a mortgage, the lender relationships we have are really important. We've decided to partner with a select group of preferred lenders that share a mutual interest in our success. And we have partnership agreements right now with NBKC and B Mortgage. We're set to have even more in the near future, which brings me to number 4, our pilot program. We're currently in the middle of a pilot program with the NBKC mortgage team. Their willingness to participate in this inaugural program is allowing us to gain vital information that will help us make even more partnerships in the future. As a bonus, number 5, the Launch KC grant. In October, we won a $50,000 grant through Launch KC. This grant was given to just 9 recipients out of almost 600 applicants. So as you can see, we've accomplished a lot during this accelerator program. The Launch KC grant, as well as some other small checks, have helped us to get where we are today. But now that we've finished the accelerator and met every single one of our goals, we're happy to announce that we're opening our first round of funding. Our goal is to help millions of people transition from renting into buying, and using Diggs as the tool that empowers them to unlock homeownership. Like I said, we're launching in just about a month, so I would encourage you all to go to our website and join the wait list. It's diggs.com. Thank you.
First off, congratulations. It's a big journey from where you started to come here. As an entrepreneur, I can respect that, and major congratulations. And congratulations to NBKC and other bankers who are supporting this initiative. I think most of lending for especially millennials is changing quite a bit, and banks innovating themselves to help that demographics is a fantastic thing to do, first off.
Thank you.
What is your vision for your app or your product 5 years from now? What's the best thing you want to see this app grow into?
So right now, a lot of lead generation in the industry is very much just kind of point of sale. It's like when someone's actually looking for a mortgage, they go on a website, whether it be LendingTree, Bankrate, there's a slew of them, but it's all geared towards trying to find that mortgage at that moment in time. Our goal is to actually look at the long-term commitment it takes to actually save for a home and serve more as a resource during that time that people are on that journey. So 5 years from now, we plan on taking this a little bit further. Instead of just being at this helping you save for a home, I mean, we're going to take it back to now you own a home. Now let's pay down your mortgage, kind of help you out on that journey as well. So this is just the first of many tools that we're going to be building for mortgage lenders and for consumers that all have to do with your owning a home.
More of creating a platform.
Yeah, we like to call
apps on it.
our future slogan we would love to be is the home for homeownership.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Well, nice job. This is kind of a topic that's close to my heart. I bought a rental property and lived in it when I was in my early 20s, and that was a lot longer ago probably than when you were in your early 20s. But that seemed like that was just an amazing thing because no one was doing that, and that was a little while ago. So this is a great program. Can you tell us a little bit more, walk us through, I get on the app, what does it look like to me, and how am I saving? And you talked about that there's some credits or some cash that can come from Diggs as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you download the app. It's actually not in the App Store, it's a web app, so it's responsive and geared towards mobile. But you would log in, it would be a very similar experience as a lot of these other things out there, like Acorns. I think that's probably the most popular, but you connect your bank account and set up a transfer, either daily, weekly, or monthly, and set up your home budget, what you're trying to spend, and when you're looking to buy. And from that, we're able to calculate milestones. Milestones being how much you should be planning to save for towards the down payment, but also how much you're going to plan for closing costs. So that's when we kind of trigger educational milestones based on your savings. So the first milestone of ours is the home appraisal. Now, a home appraisal, for those that don't know, it's different than a home inspection. It's required from the bank. It's to make sure that the loan that they're giving you at least will cover the value of the house. But a lot of first-time home buyers don't know that. So when they save their first $500, which is equivalent to what a home appraisal should cost, they'll get a notification that says, hey, congratulations, you saved for a home appraisal, here's what it is. So we're directly tying their savings goals with actual tangible things that they will be paying for that they probably don't know about.
Great. Can you tell me, you talked about there were some credits or some cash that could come from digs, how that works?
Correct. So one thing is saving for a house, it's sometimes hard to even get started. And I mentioned that in the presentation. A lot of people are not even starting because of some perceptions that they have about buying a home. So we're using a contribution matching program similar to a 401k to get people kind of in the door. So that would be something that they set up their deposit into their account, and we'll actually contribute on top of their account. Now, the caveat to this is what we contribute is restricted towards a home purchase. So we'll actually contribute on top of their account, but they can't just withdraw those funds and take a trip to Tahiti. They're going to have to go and buy a home. And when they buy a home, those funds get given back to them as a closing cost credit, and we have relationships with our lenders that have agreed to pay that.
So, is it a combination of lenders that are putting money into their account?
It actually kind of offsets their user acquisition costs.
Gotcha.
So lenders right now are paying a lot of money for mortgage leads. I mean, the home is the biggest purchase you're going to make. There's a payoff in the industry for those leads. And what we're looking at is rather than charging for leads, but really kind of giving that to the user. And then that is actually what's going to kind of make it easier for these lenders to partner with us.
So there is a huge wave of, I would say, like a acknowledgement that user data is becoming more and more prominent in saving it for the user rather than sharing it with the vendors who would probably use it in different ways. So keeping that in mind, how are you able to secure user information on your app till the user is ready to open that asset up to the lending with a secure key? So for example, I as a new home, wannabe home owner, I'm using this app and gaining that information, and the app knows everything about me. But there would be a time that the app and I would decide that, okay, I think we are ready for buying a home. Only then will I choose to open that app to my lenders. Is that something that you're looking at? Because there is a wave of information sharing that users are becoming more and more concerned about, and having technology back them up to not have that information provided to anybody till they're ready for it.
That's exactly what we do. So we actually have a preferred group of 6 lenders that we're launching with. Those lenders are the only ones that will have access to all information that is saved in our app. It won't get exposed to them or given to them until they're ready to buy, and when they're ready to buy, they have a consumer choice of only choosing 1 or 2 lenders that they want to share that information with. So LendingTree, to kind of brag on them for a second, they actually, when you fill out a form, they will sell your leads off to a couple different places. Within minutes of filling out that form, you'll get a phone call from probably 3 different lenders saying, hey, I see you're looking for a loan. It's not great for the consumer. Their information's out there now. They're getting calls for the next week or 2 from different people that they never really wanted to talk to in the first place. So what we do is the entire time you're saving, our lenders do not see anything. When you're ready to buy, when you're ready to buy, you get the 6 options there, and you can kind of see their basic rates, and then you can actually click on 1 or 2, and that's the ones that you can be connected with. At that point, you're only talking with 1 or 2 people, and the other 4 to 5 don't see any information.
We're going to go ahead and open it up to audience questions. So if you guys have a question, go ahead and line up over here. Go ahead and start with our first audience question.
I have a question.
If you want to go ahead and go over the mic.
I wasn't going to haul all the way out of here.
Okay.
Real quick, I think I can say it loud enough. So as a consulting futurist, I'm interested in how people are looking at new technologies. Have you looked at blockchain and how your lending and information network could take advantage of blockchain?
I've thought about it, but it's not something that we're implementing here. There's a huge benefit of blockchain in the real estate industry for sure, especially how transfer of title can be in the future. I mean, there's tons of benefits about specifically that. What we're doing is not. We definitely didn't want to do anything with coins, but But we don't have that kind of implement now. I think that I could go on a whole other tangent about how blockchain could benefit title, but I think that's something that we would have to implement over a whole other platform, a whole other product, and hopefully maybe that someday when there is something out there, that's something that we can plug into and partner with.
I guess they're already getting ready for the use case of user information lock into their system. That's a great segue into future laying out of blockchain if needed. And when the bankers and the users are able to use that use case, they can implement it. I think they're already doing that. That's why I asked. Are you able to secure that
Do the
information?
whole house fund thing, the amount of paperwork going back and forth,
Yeah, that also.
insane.
Yes.
Yeah, so we are primarily, as I said before, focusing on a 2-year commitment to save. So there is a lot of things out there already that handle the paperwork. We're not doing, when someone's ready to get pre-approved, we send out their information to the lender, but all the verification, the underwriting, all that stuff is still done by the lender. So that's something that I think that they would have to kind of have a different technology in place for that.
So the second question from the audience, I was wondering how you came up with this idea. It's a great idea, but what's the competition space like? And what would you say are the distinguishing characteristics about your company? And maybe you can, as you talk about that, talk about why you chose to go with not having a phone app.
Yeah, so the idea, as I kind of was starting to say, I started to realize how just buying one home one time really made me an expert, even though I wasn't an expert, but I felt like an expert based on, comparing myself to everyone else that didn't really know much about home buying. So that's where the seed started. And actually my co-founder, he was a renter having trouble saving and started talking to me about this rent-to-own model. Now, I don't know if anyone knows about rent-to-own, but it has a bad reputation in the industry. It's the idea that a landlord can essentially rent you a home, you're gaining equity in the home, but there's a lot of stipulations that benefit the landlord, not the renter. So we started to look at the rent-to-own model and how to disrupt that. So our first idea was actually an idea to build up equity in a house, but not in a specific house, in pretty much any houses that you could eventually buy. And we actually called it Migrant. That was the name of our first digs, used to be Migrant. Migrating, renting. But we kind of evolved away from that when we started just kind of trying to work through the details of it. And it was very, very much we were trying to figure out a passive versus a proactive approach to it. And we realized that the people that need to use the product are people that want to save. So that's when we kind of switched from a passive model to a proactive model, which the proactive is if they're saving towards a home, will benefit you by actually contributing onto your account. So it was actually a long process. I mean, as with any startup, it's not something that I just came up with an idea and it just is what it is now. It was something that evolved over time. Oh, and it's competition. You guys asked about competition. Rent-to-own models are still out there. A lot of tech products are trying to now do the same thing. It's still going to be the same idea where you buy one house. When you want to rent, you can't buy yet, so you buy a house, or you rent to own a house. 4 years later, you have the option to buy, but who knows what 4 years is going to look like. Maybe you don't want to live in the same city. So those things are still out there. That's still our competition. And then traditional lead sources like LendingTree or anywhere else that mortgage lenders get leads.
So there are two people that I want to connect you with when this is over and stuff. But I was looking at a statistic, and it's an older one. It said that there was over 18 million vacant houses in America right now, all of which are connected in some way, owned or are deeded to some lender. You're making strategic partnerships with banks right now. Have you thought about asking those banks, what does their inventory look like? I think in the short sale days they call it the shadow inventory. What are the houses that the banks own in the area, so that as people are getting more and more savings, you could say, hey, I understand you're looking at this beautiful 3-bedroom house, but you qualify right now to buy this one, which would be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily, that could be a business in itself, is working with lenders and having all their short sale, all their foreclosures be available on a marketplace. I think that's kind of what you're saying. I think that's a business in itself. I don't think that's really what we're going for, but I mean, the real estate industry was one of those things that didn't get touched for so long. It was archaic when all these startups were coming up with new ways to disrupt, and I think it's one of the final frontiers is the real estate industry is ripe for disruption. So there's a lot of different approaches, and we've chosen ours.
So since I'm assuming this is going to be a free web app, like you said earlier, and you're going to be contributing to the user savings, how will the app be profitable?
Yes, so we make money in 3 different ways. First way is every single consumer that uses our app pays $1 per month. That's similar with Acorns, it's similar with a lot of other savings apps out there. It helps pay for our banking overhead, a lot of the integrations we use, and the regulatory stuff that is a big overhead. So that's one thing. But the other thing is actually we're working with the lenders on a software, subscription-based software that they pay for, that they can actually co-brand and fill their funnel and retarget people that are not ready to buy yet. So they actually pay us monthly to fill their funnel, and then the people that they fill are still paying us $1 a month. So it's almost like we're getting paid twice there. Now, the last way that we get paid is very minimal. It's almost something I barely ever talk about. But when we have when we manage enough funds, when we're managing a lot of millions and millions and millions of dollars, there's a little bit of money we make on interest on the funds that we manage. But that's really not the reason why we set out to do what we're doing.
All right, great job. We have one last question for you, and it is, what can we as a community do to help you?
So, I'm actually have 3 asks. Number 1 is anyone who's interested, anyone who's saving for a house, go to Dukes.co, join our wait list. We're launching in just about 1 month, mid-January, or after the holidays. So that's number 1. However, if you're an investor, we are opening a round of funding very shortly. We're going to be announcing that round opening up next week at our demo day. So that is something, if you're interested or have any connections in that industry, feel free to talk to me. And then the third would be mortgage lenders. We have partnerships in place, but we're always looking for more partnerships, people that align with what we're doing, want to work with us. So if there's any people in the real estate industry out there, feel free to talk to me as well. So hopefully someone fits in one of those 3 buckets. Yeah. Thank you.
And now we've got announcements from our friends at Startland News. Make up something. All right. So, you guys are talking. Okay, we're going to skip the video today. Next announcement is Mike Miner.
Today, 11:30 to 1:30, there's a networking event at iWorks over just by Chicken and Pickle across the river, or down by the airport, I'm not exactly sure. There will be networking, and it's basically a crowd pitch. 4 companies pitching. My charity that I started is one of the 4 companies that's pitching today. So 11:30 to 1:30, if you're not doing anything, it's kind of a Shark Tank style deal where you get up and pitch, and then one of them is selected as a winner. So want to do some networking and hear some stuff about things like that, please come join us.
Thank you, Mike. And for our next announcement, we have Zach Pettit.
All right, at least somebody returned the favor. Thank you, Marcus. Hey, everybody. So 2 things happening at MBKC over the next 2 weeks. One, tomorrow we have an innovation exchange happening. We're going to do a panel on early stage investing, and we're also going to have a panel with a couple of the founders that are inside of Fountain City FinTech. So that'll be a fun little party tomorrow starting at 5:30. And then next week is the crescendo of the whole program. So next Thursday, December 13th, starting at 5:30, we're throwing a party at MBKC. It's demo day for Fountain City FinTech. We've been lucky enough to have Kauffman Foundation step up and sponsor. I see you in the back, Aaron, boxes checked. And Launch KC and the Economic Development Council of Kansas City will be kind of on that same even keel there. So it's going to be a fun time, and we'd love to have you all out. To RSVP, go to fountaincityfintech.com, and there's a little banner on top. Just click that banner, and we'll see you there.
Thank you. And final announcement is Matthew Marcus.
All right, Zach stole my thunder because I was going to talk about ISKC. But anyway, I'll just share the link with you so you guys can go RSVP for it. So go to bit.ly/NBKCbank, all lowercase. Oh yeah. And we'll see you there tomorrow.
All right, thank you. And now it's time for Mug Club. All right, so if you've been to 1 Million Cups 10 times, please stand up. And if you have not received a mug yet, please stay standing. If you've received one, please sit down.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you please tell us your name and why you love coming to 1 Million Cups?
I would love to. Jamie Burks. I started coming to 1 Million Cups at Kauffman Foundation when I worked for a company called Door to Door Organics, which is no longer. I now work for Zone 6 Fitness across the river, and I haven't been in a couple weeks. And when you come back after not being here, it kind of just refreshes you. It kind of reminds me why I do what I do, the connections that happen here, and learning about all the great things happening in our city. Just makes me fall in love with Kansas City all over again. So,
thank you so much for joining us.
And for our next presentation, I give it up for Eric Redline with NuMoola.
Good morning, thank you. How are you guys doing this morning? Awesome. A little bit more enthusiasm, more coffee, right? Good morning, I'm Eric Redline, CEO and co-founder of NuMoola. My story began a few years ago with my son. His grandfather, we call him Poppy, he retired, he lives in sunny Orlando, Florida, and he comes up and visits our kids quite a bit. And being the doting grandfather that he is, likes to buy presents for them. But he's carrying them on the plane, so when he came up a few years ago for my son's birthday, we all hopped in the car, took a family trip to Toys R Us, rest in peace. And Poppy said, buy something at Toys R Us. So my son, eyes wide as saucers, pointed over there and says, I want that one. The $100 dinosaur. Me as the parent saying, we have a lot of toys at home, we don't need that $100 big dinosaur. And we said, Poppy, you just had a budget for Austin. So we negotiated a little bit and landed on $50. And I had the hard job of telling Austin that he couldn't have the big dinosaur, but he could pick something else. And I had to explain to him that these things cost money, and that the price tags on the toys were how we would figure out what his budget was. So it started off, he said, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. And we had to say, well, that's too much, that's too much, this is $20, you have a little bit more you can spend. And instead of wanting to buy something, he became much more interested in figuring out what things cost. This was a powerful revelation for me as a parent, because I kind of started to realize that kids at a very young age can really understand the value of money, and when you change the conversation and focus on the value of money, they start to make different decisions and choices in their life. So, long story short, he ended up buying 2 different things. I was very happy, but it really set us on a journey of recognizing that financial literacy and money management is not taught in most schools across America. In fact, it's left mostly to parents to teach their kids the value of money. Unfortunately, 70% of parents feel uncomfortable having this conversation with their kids. 70%. So what that means is that the 11 million families and the 37 million kids ages 5 to 12 are left largely in the dark, fumbling their way through financial education and money management skills. This is what's led to the savings crisis that we have in the country, the high debt load, and the crises that we have around financial management with the millennial generation and beyond. So NuMoola was designed to help families with kids ages 5 to 12 learn, earn, engage, and ultimately lead to success in money management skills and practical hands-on money management tools. So what exactly does the platform do? We offer parents an easy-to-use platform to manage chores and allowance and see the child's asset base in a real-life bank account. On the child side, the kids can manage their chores as well. They can set up goals for things that are really important to them, things that they want to save for. But the parents say, you need to keep putting your money aside in order to build up towards that goal. We're also providing age-appropriate educational content that is designed to help kids learn about basic financial principles, but as they mature and as they grow and get more comfortable, provide them deeper engagement mechanisms to learn more about financial principles and money management skills. So what's our business model? How do we make money? We're launching as a B2C platform, launching out to the App Store in about 30 days, and building lots of partnerships with nonprofit organizations. Nonprofits like Junior Achievement and others are out in the school systems trying to change that learning curve on financial literacy, but often lack the technical platforms to continue that engagement. We're also charging a small membership fee, again, trying to help families understand the value of money and investing in their child's future. Additionally, we have some shared revenue with our banking partners. They have a mission and a vision to drive core deposits, and we're helping bring those assets to the bank as well. So it's a shared vision, shared economic system. Our founding team has deep expertise in technology, financial sector, and we're all family people as well. I'm the father of 3, a 6'4" and 6 months. So, oops, our slides are a little off here. that is us up there. Founding team is committed to family, committed to financial literacy, and really changing the way that people and families think about money engagement. We've been part of Kansas City for the last almost 3 months as part of the Fountain City FinTech Accelerator program. We've had a lot of amazing connections that we've had in Kansas City over that period of time. We've made our partnership with NBKC Bank. We've integrated with the Fountain City FinTech Accelerator program, as I mentioned before. We've also launched our beta program about a month and a half ago, which was largely families based in Kansas City. And a lot of those were bank employees as well. And a few weeks ago, we announced our intentions to co-locate our headquarters here in Kansas City as our company continues to grow and scale. So we're very excited. We're very excited, very proud to be part of the Kansas City ecosystem. And we've been really enjoying our time being the community here in the city. That's a terrible slide, so I apologize. We're happy to be here, and we're looking to connect with people that have kids, have families, know people who have families with kids, people that are interested in financial literacy and wellness in the Kansas City area. Go to our website, NuMoola.com, to join our waitlist. We're launching also in about 30 days, so following on the heels of Dig's team as well. We're happy to be here. Thanks for your time, and looking forward to answering your questions.
All right, nice job on the presentation. This is really interesting, especially from the aspect of it seems like there's very little education from a finance standpoint going on in primary schools. I gave someone a quick story, $20.25 to pay for something that was $19.25 the other day, and they insisted on giving me back the quarter. So it has real life applications. Can you tell us, you talk about your son looking at becoming more interested in how he could spend versus different things and different types of money. Can you tell us more about what else motivated you to put this together?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, listen, it started with my personal journey with my son, and we started talking with, my friends and who are parents as well with kids similar ages, and started asking, what are you doing to teach your kids about money? And the answer was really nothing. And so I'm a big believer in giving back and helping other people achieve success and to achieve their dreams. And this seemed like a very powerful way to not only help the parents deal with a situation that was important to me and heard was important to them, but also the future generation. We hear so much about the debt, student loans, people being underwater in their mortgages, all these kinds of challenges, and part of that stems from the fact that kids are just intuiting how to manage money, and they're learning from their parents, and if the parents weren't given a great leg up in life from having well-off parents or parents that cared about it, we're falling into the same trap. So the cycle just keeps repeating itself over and over again, and there has to be a mechanism to change that and to really stop it and restart the learning curve.
Congratulations once again. Financial literacy is definitely important, and especially in kids. But I keep asking myself, what about those kids whose parents are not well versed with technology? What happens to those families where kids are needed to know, not because their parents are too rich to give them money, but they don't have enough money? And how are we educating those kids through platforms like yours? And how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, so the way that we're looking at that is through our partnership program. So working with some of these organizations that are out there in those lower moderate income situations, they're in the school settings, they're delivering great programming, but it's a very finite window of time. So they're in a school for one day, maybe a few weeks at a time, and oftentimes, the kids get interested in it, but there's nothing to take home with the program, and so most people have phones today. And most people use their phones for all kinds of information gathering, banking transactions, a whole host of things. And kids today have access to phones at a much earlier age. I think the average age is around 10, where kids start getting access to their own devices. So the idea behind NuMoola is that they can find it very easily through our partnership programs and through their promotional activities and our partnership. The parents can then engage with their kids, and the idea is to empower success for the future. So the parents, who doesn't want to give their child a better future? No matter how much you make, your vision for your kids is to have a better life than the one that you have, and we're trying to help change that dynamic and empower those parents, no matter what you make, how much you can contribute to do that.
That's very good. Do you have any other programs that are kind of coupling this financial literacy with education in terms of promoting other aspects of the industry? For example, a kid he's more aware of money, right? He knows the ramifications of, saving and achieving a goal and achieving an object, but is there any way that we can take this financial literacy and utilize in what's the next step? How do I develop this?
Yeah, excellent. So that's exactly what our long-term vision is. We want to add more products and services like a debit card or a prepaid card solution as the child ages and matures. There are other apps out there that are focused in that teen market. Most of those are focused, though, on spending. Here's your card to go spend the money that your parents are giving you. So that's why we decided to focus on that younger age demographic to sort of build those basic skills early on. And then as we're curating them through and they're evolving in their understanding of financial principles, then add those additional products and services that let the kids mature in a meaningful, responsible way to have a debit card and make smart choices of how, where, and how much they spend using those products and services.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what the competitive landscape looks like as far as for things more specific to what you're doing on the spending side?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of other apps that are focused on chore and allowance management, but the majority of those are IOU based. So it's a fictitious ledger. Hey, my son Austin, he completed taking out the trash. He says, hey dad, I did that, where's my dollar for doing that? And I said, oh, I don't have any cash on me, or I only have a 20, I'll have to break it maybe tomorrow whenever I get around to it. And so you have that IOU based system. We're connected to a real bank account. And so as soon as he does the chore and I approve and say, yes, you completed it successfully, he gets his dollar right away. So for us, making that hands-on practical connection to real dollars in real time is a critical differentiation for us relative to competitors.
Can you tell us a little bit more, you talked just briefly about what your revenue model looks like and what it looks like in the future?
Yeah, another great question. So, initially we're looking at this as a B2C play and having a membership aspect to it. Longer term, we envision a whole host of other potential revenue models, white labeling the solution to other banking partners who envision working with a younger market demographic, but lack the technology resources or the strategic investment to build products that are focused on those kids, but want to be more community-minded and engaged and talking with the families. We're also exploring child savings accounts and how we can help municipalities manage the money flow and some of the matching grants that cities like Kansas City might be offering to children that are born here in the city.
All right, we're going to go ahead and open it up to audience questions. Hi there. So I just want to say that I really do love what you guys are doing with NuMoola. In fact, when you talked about there being some in schools, I had financial literacy programs when I was in 5th and 8th grade through a nonprofit. However, like you said, once it's over, once that semester is over, that curriculum is over, there's not a whole lot of follow-up. So I just want to say that I do see that that is this missing piece even in my own personal journey. But if I'm, let's say, a single mother and I'm struggling to keep my lights on or feed my child, I may, like you said, we all want to have a better future for a child, but I see that access can be this huge barrier for people, especially in that, if a membership fee is required, because I may want to help them be more literate, but I need to keep my lights on. I need, so how are you partnering maybe with nonprofits to increase access to the people who probably need the service the most?
Yeah, so that's why we think that the partnerships with nonprofits are so important. Oftentimes, they actually bring corporate sponsors to the table that can offset the cost to the low to moderate income family demographics that, to your point, are struggling maybe the most and can't always afford to even pay allowance. So we're really looking at that as building a community around the solution. We're the technology deliverer, the content deliverer, but we also want to recognize that we can't serve everyone out of the gate, but through our partner programs and some of their funding resources, we believe that we can help deliver it to more people. We're also looking to partner with banks and other financial institutions who have some regulatory mandates to be out in the community through the Community Reinvestment Act, and looking at that as another alternative to help offset the cost in those communities that need it most.
Thank you.
I've got two questions. The first, have you thought about partnering with the actual schools as opposed to partnerships with organizations that go into the schools? Have you thought about actually partnering with the schools?
Yes, we initially explored partnership with schools. What we found are a couple of challenges in that model. One has typically been the sales cycle is very long to get something onboarded with the school systems, and the other can be cost as well. So trying to find the right balance of the right time and delivery. And our product, while it's financial literacy minded, it's not a typical curriculum-based approach that's sort of teacher-led or classroom-led. But the idea was really more conversation starters with parents and these small tidbits of information that were easily digestible for kids at a younger age. So we felt the school system, while it could be a really great partner in the long run, wasn't a great short-term solution for us.
Then the last question, we have some youth entrepreneurs in the building, so what advice would you give them as they may be sitting here considering starting a business, maybe in your baby stages of your business? What advice would you give them as youth entrepreneurs?
Oh, where to start? I could probably do 4 hours just on what I've learned and in my journey. But I would quickly say, do your market research. Really understand what the pain point that you're trying to solve is, and talk to as many potential customers and users of your product before you really try to build something. I think oftentimes entrepreneurs say, I have an idea, I think it's a great idea. You ask your friends and family, and because they can be somewhat biased to not want to hurt your feelings, they might tell you, oh, that's a really cool idea, but the reality is it may not actually serve the market that you're trying to capture. So I would say start with as many people as you can before you actually commit time and resources to building your product. And then once you build it, try to get something out there as quickly as you can to the market and have people react to it. And be willing to take that feedback from people. You know, they're trying to be honest, they want to help you. Somebody to know what advice or feedback is feedback that's an N of one or a single person saying this versus you know, a feedback that you hear consistently over many people that you've spoken with.
Thank you so much for your presentation. While we don't quite have 4 hours, I would love to hear more about your entrepreneurial journey. So what's your background? How'd you get here?
Yeah, so I worked for a very large company consulting firm right out of college, and was sort of unhappy in being a number in the spectrum, and was fortunate enough to join a startup company that was at the very early stages of using iPhone technology to do market research. And I was employee, I think, number 12 or something like that in that company. So that was really the genesis of my entrepreneurial journey, and have been working in startup companies and privately held high growth companies pretty much ever since. And have always wanted to be sort of the first person in on an idea in a company. And NuMoola was my opportunity to do that, and just felt like there was a lot of passion personally. It resonated with me, it resonated with the people in my community and many others out there. So yeah, I think just finding the bug, finding the passion, and just wanting to live the entrepreneurial dream.
From start to finish, like the beginning of this process, how long did it take you to get to the point you're at today?
We've been building the app since about January, so it's about not quite a year of the process, and part of that has been really just understanding all the different features and components that we've heard our user base want to have in the platform. And again, some of the banking connections are can be pretty technically complicated, high regulatory compliance. So it took us about a year to get from really from the design idea all the way through our launch phase.
And what would you say is your biggest challenge that you've had so far, like the biggest obstacle to overcome?
The biggest challenge or obstacle so far, I think, has really been honing in on the features to launch with. You know, we've heard a lot of things that people would like, this idea or that idea. Virtual reality is all the rage right now, so people are like, when are you going to have virtual reality, or when are you going to have these really cool concepts in the platform? And while we might have visions to do that down the road, I think just trying to stay true to what the core of our ideas are, and build the best products to serve that, and then extend from there as we build user base and generate revenue that we can actually put back into the product.
All right, I have kind of an interesting question. So what is something that you feel like you should talk about that we haven't asked you about yet?
We've covered a wider variety of topics. I would say the one thing that we maybe haven't covered, yeah, you stumped me there.
All right, do we have any more questions from the expert panelists? If not, we'll go ahead and finish up with our last question. What can we as a community do to help you?
Like I said at the closing of my speech, we're getting ready to launch here in the next 30 days or so. So sign up for our wait list. Come talk to me if you want to learn more about what we're doing. And if you think you can help connect me to folks in the Kansas City community that are serving financial wellness and engaging the community in literacy, I'd love to chat more on how we might develop partnerships.
All right, great job. Let's give them a round of applause.
All right, we want to thank everyone for coming out today. And a couple of quick reminders. There is free co-working across the way at the FlexPod Annex. And this is a reason to be prepared. Next week's presenters are going to be Startup Space and Cell Ozo. Thanks and have a great week, you guys.